Welcome back. Thanks so much for being with me today. I hope you got a good day going. You're relaxed because I got a great guest. Frank Mccain is on the line with me. You know the name. It's the Greensboro Four, baby. It is the son of Frank McCain Sr., probably one of the most pivotal figures in the civil rights movement, and a man who understood courage, vision, along with those three other guys. There's a reason why they're called the Fantastic Four for doing this. But Frank, thanks so much for dropping by to talk about legacy today.
Thank you very much for having me, Scott.
All right, Frank, it took place in 1960. What is it, February 1 of 1960. Your dad and three of his friends decided enough was enough. Now, you and I, we grew up together. We went to high school together, graduated together. And it's funny because we're so self-absorbed in high school, we don't sit and ask about everybody else's parents.
That's true. That is true.
It really is. We're thinking about who we're going to date, what our classes are, what music we're listening to.
What we're gonna do Friday night after the football.
I know it's kind of weird, and then after I saw you at our 30th reunion, I said maybe I'd like to read up on his father. And what was it like? You went to A&T, your dad went to A&T, your son's now at A&T. Did
That is correct.
did your dad tell you the story of how everything went down that day?
Yeah, it's really interesting. My father, I mean, if you had gotten to know him, you would know that he was a man of a lot of words, and when he communicated, he meant what he said. But what he didn't do a lot of when we were growing up was really talking about what he and the other three gentlemen had done on February 1st, 1960 at the Woolworth Lunch Counter in Greensboro, North Carolina. It was not until, I think, Scott, about 1972, 73, when I was outside playing, and a television truck pulled up to our house, and I began to see people that I was familiar with from seeing on television. It was a 60 Minutes crew.
Wow.
And they were coming to do a story on him, and I said, well, Daddy, why do they want to talk to you? Because why do they want to talk to you? And it wasn't until that time that he really, that was sort of my introduction into the sit-in movement and what his involvement had been. And so, of course, over the years, going forward, he shared a lot of the stories about what they were thinking during that time and kind of what the climate was during that period of time, and what kind of, what motivated them, and then what he saw his role as being, many, many years later, and what the expectations were of me and my brothers and our children.
Oh, yeah. I think about the courage it took because you'll think this is funny. I go on and get my education degree. Who do I end up teaching? I end up teaching Jabril's nephew, who's named after him. And on Fridays, we used to go to downtown Greensboro to that Woolworth, and we would sit on Jabril's bench.
Unbelievable.
And his mom would come down, and she'd tell us the story. And I have not been back since it was made a museum.
Okay. Well, you should make a road trip and come as the International Civil Rights Center and Museum located in Greensboro is at the location of the actual sit-in where the sit-in took place at the Woolworth. So it's on Elm Street in Greensboro. It's a great experience.
Oh, yeah. And prior to it closing, they still had the best malts and Coke anywhere in the city. And it's been that long since I've been back to Greensboro, actually, because I went to Greensboro College, you went to A&T. Now I want to talk about the A&T legacy. Your mom and dad,
Right.
Did they meet in college?
They did. My father was from Washington, D.C., and my mother was from a small town down in Georgia. And she was a student at the all-women's school across the street from A&T, across the railroad track, should I say. And she was a student at Bennett College. And so they met while students in college. I thought it was kind of interesting that the two of them would connect because they were so different in so many ways. My father having being reared in the big city, and I called him and I told him, I said, "You're a city slick," and you convinced this young, pure Southern male that you were the right guy for her, and she fell for it. So I said, "You must have been doing some fast talking." But yeah, they met while students at A&T.
Now, I looked at your dad's bio today. Chemistry and biology degree, is that correct?
That is correct. He had a dual major in both.
Now, was he thinking about med school, or did he just decide to go to Celanese and work later?
Man, that is really funny you would bring that up. So his intention had been to go to med school. But unfortunately, and fortunately for me, I was conceived. And so the med school kind of idea had to go out the window because he was about to be a father, and my mother was working as a school teacher in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system, and as is the case today, teachers are grossly underpaid, and so of course we needed additional income, so he needed to go to work. And what's interesting about that story, Scott, is that he, with a dual major in chemistry and biology, and an honor student, he went to Charlotte, he applied for a job in the lab for Celanese, and that was during a time where racial tensions really were still kind of at a high, and the actions that he and those three gentlemen had taken followed him to Charlotte, and by many people in the corporate community, he was labeled as a troublemaker. And so he was told that there were no jobs in the chemistry lab, but they did have a job as a custodian on the executive level of the corporate office. And so he accepted a job as a custodian and worked and cleaned the bathrooms and kept all of that clean. But he began to have conversations with the gentleman who at that time was president of the company in the bathroom.
Right.
And after several conversations, several months, one day the president said to him, "Well, frankly, you seem like a very intelligent young man. You ought to consider going to college and getting a degree." And my dad said he chuckled. He says, "Well, sir, I have both a bachelor's in chemistry and in biology." And the guy said, "Well, what in the world are you doing working in here?" He said, "You should be in the lab." And my father said, "I agree, but I was told there were no openings in the lab." And the gentleman, I do not recall his name, but my father said it was within 7 to 10 days he had a position in the lab, and that is how he got his true start professionally at Celanese, a company that he would end up working for 30 so years and rise to a senior level position.
Did he enjoy working there?
He loved Celanese. Celanese was he was very interested in the fibers and textiles business, and Celanese treated him very well. It was a great experience for him. I mean, I do know that if he did not like it, he would not have stayed around all that time. And he met some he established some very good relationships with people that worked there, both in the Charlotte area and in New York and South Carolina. So, and the people I met from Celanese were great. So yeah, he had a very enjoyable and somewhat lucrative career with Celanese.
That always helps. I got a friend, Robert Johnson. He works in North Carolina. He's on the board at Duke and at Chapel Hill, of all places. That has a little background with that because he's also got a biology degree. Yeah, that's some hatred. I was like, how can you raise money for Duke and Carolina?
Yeah, that's a conflict of interest.
What's that? That's like being at A&T and then raising money for Southern?
Yeah, that would be a conflict of interest, or A&T in North Carolina Central.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
No, that's not going to work too well.
All right.
No, not going to work too well.
What I want to talk about when we get back, I want to talk about, one, your dad's name is on the hallway. I saw the photo you put on Facebook, and you've got a young one there. What I want to talk about is what that's like. I went to Greensboro College. There's no legacy there. It's the only school that will let me in. But I want to talk about the legacy of A&T, what it means to you and your family, what it means to your son. And you got a little baby girl that graduated from a school not far from A&T also. I did a show on her. I tried to get you the tape, and somebody has lost it. So we are going to talk about her too, because what she's up to right now is absolutely spectacular. All right, if you got a question for myself or for Frank, it's questions@scottferrell.com, or hit us up on the text line, 706-889-9700. Frank Mccain is on the line with me today. Greensboro 4, look it up. You can understand why those four gentlemen risking their lives helped change the scope of our country. I'm Scott Ferrell. He's Frank Mccain, and I'll be right back.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
The summer sell-down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited, now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT, now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell-down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for being part of my day. Great guest. Probably one of the coolest guests I've ever gotten an interview in the last 10 years. Frank McCain Jr. that is. Senior is a civil rights hero, probably a hero of so many people. But as I did earlier in the first segment, I was talking about doing what's right regardless of the consequences and without knowing the consequences. And that is what Frank's father was able to do, not only for people of color, but people everywhere. Why? Because he's a prime example of what it means to truly stand up for what you value and what's right. Frank, thanks so much for coming by today.
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
All right, I'm cheating. Frank and I graduated from high school together, North Mech, class of '83. But now I want to get into Frank's career. It's great. You graduate with somebody, you never read their bio. You see them, you talk to them, you go to reunions, and you still don't read their bio. Frank was a private client wealth advisor with Merrill Lynch and Payne Weber. What was that like, and why did you make the transition to United Way?
Yeah, so most of my career has been in the area of financial services. I started after college with a bank that no longer exists that was called First Union, and I'm sure you remember First Union.
Oh yeah.
First Union ended up merging with Wachovia, and now that that conglomerate, that merger now is known as Wells Fargo. But when I worked for the bank, I began to get some exposure in the area of brokerage services and financial services and financial planning and investment. And I found it to be very intriguing. And I remember talking to one of my fellow bank colleagues one day, and they said to me, have you ever considered, a career in, financial advisory? And I said, no, I know very little about it. And so they made an introduction to me, for me to a guy who worked at Merrill Lynch. And I went in and had a conversation with him, and I thought, hey, this is what I want to do. So Merrill Lynch, and I'm thankful to them to this day, hired me, sent me through a great training program. I worked for them for many years and managed millions of dollars for clients throughout the country. And after being at Merrill for a while, I went and worked for Payne Weber, which ended up being bought out by a company called UBS. And I did the same thing over at Payne Weber UBS. But during all of those periods of time, I was very engaged in civic work in the Greensboro market. Everything from literacy to educational needs and supports for children to the YMCA, just a lot of different things. And I really enjoyed it, and I felt good about the work that I was doing with those organizations, volunteering. And so, after being in financial services for a while and going through that internet bubble time, when it was really great, I said, hey, this is fun. I'm making a really good amount of money here, but am I really fulfilled?
Right.
And the answer is no. And so that's what I think when I made a decision, what is it that will really fulfill me? And it's really the work I was doing to try to improve my community and to help those in need. And so United Way, the opportunity with United Way came open. I am the Vice President of Community Investment and Impact, which basically means my department is responsible for determining the needs of the community, for deciding where we're going to invest the money that donors have given us, and then being able to measure the outcomes of our investments. And so we are heavily focused here at this United Way in addressing the needs of poverty in our community. We call it breaking the cycle of poverty. So we're working on a generational approach, multi-generational approach, where we're working with an entire family, mother, father, grandmother, children, working with everybody in the house to try to reduce or eliminate poverty and get people to a place where they're financially stable and self-sufficient.
Wow. Great program. I used to go by that in United Way office all the time when I lived in Greensboro. Now, let me like that. You invest in community, and now you've got a youngster over at A&T. So, Dad, you, youngster, what is it like? And if you get a chance, go by Frank McCain. Go by his Facebook page. He's got a photo of his father's name over the hallway, and then Frank and his son. What's that feel like to keep that legacy going?
I'm going to tell you, that was probably, the day he moved into his dormitory was probably one of the proudest days of my life. And I really hate that my mother and father especially, were not here to see it. For him to be Franklin McCain III, we call him Mac,
right?
M-A-C. But for Mac to be able to move into the dorm that's named after his grandfather, and to be able to live in that dorm and matriculate on a campus that his grandfather was on 50-something years ago, and a campus that both his mother and father were on 30 years ago. And now he's carrying the torch. And so I tell him, with that torch comes a lot of responsibility too, because whether you want to believe it or not, there are expectations that people are going to have of you, and you've got to be able to kind of sort through them and figure out which expectations of theirs you're willing to meet and which ones you aren't. So you have to become your own man, and that's part of that college experience,
right?
Just to really learn about yourself. But being Franklin McCain III will have challenges of its own. But I will tell you that he's also he's a great student. He entered A&T really classified as a sophomore academically, because he had taken his senior year of high school. The high school that he was in had a program that allowed you to take all your college classes your senior year. So he entered A&T with probably somewhere around 32 hours.
Wow.
So he's entering as a sophomore academically. He's on an athletic scholarship playing football. And so he's really getting a great start. I talked to him the other day. He is loving the university. He said it feels like a family, and he's very happy that he's there. And his father and mother, who are both graduates of A&T, are very happy as well.
Oh, yeah. Now, I don't want to leave baby girl out, because I did a story on her, I don't know how many years ago it was, when I was at another network. What's she up to now?
So my daughter, Taylor, graduated in May from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a degree in journalism. And she is currently working back on the campus of the University of North Carolina, so she's employed there. But she also is the national second vice president for Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And what that basically means is that as a national officer with any organization, they are responsible for establishing rules and guidelines and the overall management of the sorority. I think the membership of their sorority is somewhere over 100,000 members.
Wow.
And so I'm very proud of her, because at their national convention last summer in Houston, in front of a crowd of probably 15,000, 20,000 folks, she delivered a campaign speech and campaigned against several other her sorority sisters, and she was selected and voted to be the national second vice president. So she has that along with her duties at Carolina, and she's managing them both very well.
Wow. It's amazing to talk about the legacy, and I talked about your dad the whole first segment of my show today, and I showed the photo, and we've got about a minute and a half left. Where is the statue placed now? Is it on the campus of A&T?
Yeah, there is a huge statue that was sculptured by Dr. Barnhill, who's on faculty at A&T, and it is right in the center right on the edge of campus, but right in the center of what the old campus was. So it's right in front of what used to be the administration building. which would have been the administration building when my father was a student there.
Wow.
So it's right there. It's a beautiful sculpture, and you can see it as you enter onto campus.
Wow, unbelievable. You go on the campus, you get to see a statue of your dad. Now, I'm talking to Frank McCain. Frank's father was Frank McCain Sr., part of the Greensboro Four. Frank, I'm going to ask you what I ask most of my guests before they leave. If you could give one sentence to young people right now, what would that one sentence be?
If I think in terms of what my father would say, and that's what I'm going to do, my father would say, and I agree with him, is that it only takes one person to start a movement, and you don't need to wait on the masses because the masses will not come.
That's right.
So we all have a civic duty to correct any wrongs that we see, and that if we don't find a way to become part of the solution, then perhaps we're part of the problem.
Sweet. Frank, thanks so much for stopping by and talking about legacy and talking about your dad. His service to our country is just, it's almost, you can't even put it into words. But thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us today.
You're very welcome, Scott. Have a great afternoon.
You too. All right, when we get back, I'm going to go to the
All right.
mailbag. I'm going to answer your questions. You can hit me up at 706-889-9700. I'll be right back.